All right, welcome back here to the Xfinity Sports Report, your Colorado High School connection. All right, take a look at all the highlights already here on the program. Time to break down some of the boys' hoops with Thomas Trotman. Of course, he pens that Ball Fever column for ChassaNow.com. Thomas, always great to have you. How are you?
I'm doing great, Brian. Appreciate you having me back.
I know the high school hoops season now in full swing. It makes you a happy man. It makes a lot of folks happy when you get into the high school hoops. Well, we're going to break down a 5A and 4A, and we'll talk about some of the top teams and some of the top players. Let's start in Class 4A, and is there a doubt who the team to beat is? Is it Pueblo West?
No doubt. Defending champ, Pueblo West coming in as number one, returning Gatorade Player of the Year in David Cimental. They're stacked. I think there was a stat that I put in my Ball Fever column that 18 returning players from the state championship 4A game.
Yeah.
So 9 players from Valor returning, 9 players from defending champ Pueblo West. It's likely that we could see those two down at the Coliseum again.
Yeah, Cimental already put on 22 pounds in the offseason, already averaging 26 points a game last season. I mean, he's going to be right there here this season. He's a Division I kid, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. May come from a smaller school and down south from Pueblo, but he has all the tools to make it D1.
And Thomas mentioned the state championship matchup from last year. Valor Christian was the state runner-up, and Jalen Sanders, I know, headlines the list for the Eagles this year.
Absolutely. Jalen Sanders coming out with a senior-led squad. Speaking of seniors, they just got joined by Dylan McCaffrey, who is coming off the state football championship, obviously, and just joined the basketball roster, which is going to make the Eagles even tougher.
Cale Knuckles as well. I mean, right now, I know Pueblo West, you look at what they return, and Valor, what they return. I mean, it probably wouldn't surprise you to see those two meeting up for all the marbles once again coming up in March.
It wouldn't surprise me a bit, but there are some sleepers out there with some serious star power, teams like Sierra and also Sand Creek.
Yeah, Sierra and Sand Creek, we saw highlights of that from Friday night. How good is Deshaun Schwartz from Sand Creek? Of course, already committed to play basketball up for Tad Boyle, the University of Colorado.
Pac-12 Division I player. He's legit. He has all the tools. He's as good as advertised, I guess, is the cliche that I would use. Strong lefty. Played club ball all over the nation against some of the top competition, and obviously he's bringing that to the court.
Yeah, and I had a chance to watch him a couple times last year. Again, we saw him here tonight on XSR, and well, he just looks bigger this year. And of course, going from a junior to a senior, but 6'6", he's a wing type player, can really get down the lane into the rim, and then he's got a nice stroke as well. How about CJ Jennings? Where does he fit in top 4A players?
Oh, he's right there in the top 5, I would say. I have him as have Sierra as my Ball Fever 4A sleeper, so to speak, this year. I'm a big believer in point guard play once we get to February and March and down the stretch, and CJ's one of the top in the state, regardless of 4A or 5A. He's one of the top.
Yeah, you know, they always play good basketball at Class 4A. We've known that for many, many years, but it just seems like there's so many good players at the 4A level this year. And one of the other guys that we haven't brought up yet, but for Vista Ridge, Hunter Maldonado, he's heading up to Wyoming to play for the Pokes next year.
Hey, there had to be something going on down south in Colorado Springs because about 5 of those players that we just mentioned are all from that same area, 4A. So they've grown up together, they've battled against each other, trained against each other, played club ball. It's a year-round thing for them down there.
All right, so we've brought up some of those top teams in Class 4A. Who maybe is on the outside looking in that could? I know Sierra's your sleeper team. There's Holy Family, Golden from the Denver area. Denver South's always good. Who else do you like in Class 4A?
Well, we've mentioned them already, but I'd have to go with Hunter Maldonado at Vista Ridge. He's got a point guard named Noah Beatty. I had the pleasure of working with this spring and summer basketball-wise, so I got to know him away from the high school court. He's a true leader, and with Hunter on the wing and Noah running the point, watch out for Vista Ridge.
All right, so that's a look at Class 4A here this year. We'll get Thomas's pick for state champion coming up in just a few minutes. Let's move now to Class 5A. And unlike 4A, where I know a lot of people like Pueblo West to repeat, I'm not so sure we'll get the repeat champion in 5A. Overland lost a lot from the back-to-back championship teams. Still have some nice pieces. Danny Fisher, well, you know he's going to coach that team up, but in Class 5A right now, it looks like George Washington could be the team to beat. It's early, we understand that, but G-Dub looking good.
Looking very good. The Patriots are back, so to speak. They haven't packed that house the way they're doing it at GW since the Chauncey days, so to speak. But right now, the excitement's back for DPL. The excitement's back for city ball with teams like GW, East, and Denver South, as you mentioned.
Yeah, we asked a question earlier on the program before we got you on set. Are the Fugate brothers the best backcourt in the state of Colorado? I'll throw that question to you.
What a tandem. What a tandem. I mean, speed, 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 right? They push the ball, they attack the rim. If they can improve that outside shooting, they'll be hard to stop.
Yeah.
Best tandem for sure.
Yeah, we saw them again against Smoky Hill earlier on the program. And John L. Fugate was knocking down threes. Calvin hit a three in the contest. And then, listen, you can't forget about Gervais Green. I mean, you might like him the best on that Patriots team.
Out of that core of talent that they have, I think Gervais is obviously the most explosive. He's had some early season dunks and jumped off the radar on social media and some of the things where the players and fans have really pumped him up. Had an 18-point game with 3 or 4 explosive dunks this season already. So watch out for Gervais Green to rise as well.
And the interesting thing about George Washington now, Thomas, is as you look at him last year, their leading scorer was Dalen Kuntz. The 6'6" swingman was only a sophomore last year, averaged 22 points a game. He has transferred to go over to Denver East. I mean, can you imagine how stacked George would be even with Kuntz? But he's now at Denver East, sitting out the first 11 games of the season. Jamison Washington, a transfer from Lincoln, and another transfer over at Denver East. Hey, listen, Rudy's team's off to a 7-0 start in state already this season. How good are the Angels going to be here as we get into January?
They have a tournament championship already under their belt, 7-0, as you mentioned. They're getting ready to head off to Bishop Gorman in Las Vegas, which, you know, center stage in Vegas, December holiday tournament. You can't beat that. So we're going to find out real quickly just how good they are. They're being led in scoring right now by a sophomore, Quan Marble, who's just a young sophomore leading the team in scoring as they wait for those transfers to join the squad.
Yeah, you know, they still have some very young pieces on that team. That again, you had Washington, you had Kuntz. It's going to be another season where Denver East is going to factor into the mix. You talk about some of the teams in 5A that are on that Denver area, and really it's the balance of power is in the metro area in Class 5A, and it's to the central Denver, and it's to the south, and it's to the east.
Aurora, yes.
And you got all those Aurora teams. I mean, they're all there. Of course, Overland, the 2-time defending state champs, Thomas, but you have Smoky Hill, who we saw against George on Tuesday. You have Eagle Crest, you have Cherokee Trail, you have Grandview. I mean, they're loaded in A-Town.
Absolutely. Eagle Crest came in as my heavy favorite in 5A, returning what they had, Gatorade Player of the Year, returning in Kobe Ross. And they're not just a one-man show with Kobe. They have wings, they have size inside. So Eagle Crest was coming in as my favorite. But as I'm starting to watch some more of these teams out in Aurora, I mean, Cherokee Trail, one of my favorite point guards to watch, Jay Zigliotti. Again, point guard play when we get into February and March is huge, and the Southeast Aurora is loaded with talent. Grandview, up and coming, have Gage Prim down in the low post, along with LaShawn Duhart, who's running the show for them, scored 33 points in a game already this season. So a lot of talent.
You know, Michael Rogers, it's just his 3rd season now at Grandview, and he thinks this is the best team he's had in his 3 years. It'd be hard to argue with that. The Gentry kid is there as well. You mentioned Ross from Eagle Crest, and then with Cherokee Trail, they lost a couple of pretty good seniors last season. Then KJ Sapp gets hurt during football season, another one of those good guards. But boy, Lottie, so talented for those Cherokee Trail Cougars. All right, how about Doherty, though? Doherty's another one of those teams that could sneak in. Chatfield's another team. Who else in 5A do you kind of like?
I like Doherty a lot. Again, senior leadership, point guard leadership. I had this pleasure of speaking with Brevin Brimble actually last night. We had a little chat we called Ball Fever Chat for my column, interviewed him a bit. He's averaging 23 points a game. They're 5-1 right now, getting ready to head in some tough games against Mountain Vista, Regis, so they have some tough upcoming games. Watch out for Doherty.
All right, and then we can't forget about the teams down in Highlands Ranch. Of course, you think about Thunder Ridge, a 21-win team of season ago, led by Corey Sang. And how about Rock Canyon? Already a victory over Eagle Crest during the course of the season. And, of course, they're led by Sam Mast, and the junior is terrific.
Junior solid. As you mentioned, they upset the #1 team, Eagle Crest, already. That same week, they went to a tournament in San Antonio, Texas, 4-0 against all Texas teams, undefeated tournament, where Sam Maston, funny story, luggage gets misplaced at the airport, so he plays in duct tape or whatever kind of uniform they put together for him, and he drops 44 points in front of the Texas crowd.
Yeah.
Great performance. So the kid has it.
who says you have to look good to play good?
That's right. That's right.
Mast is certainly terrific. All right, running out of time. 4A, who do you like? We're putting Thomas Trotman on the spot.
I think this year I'm looking at that rematch of Valor and Pueblo West. I think this year Jalen Sanders and crew come back and get it done.
All right, and Valor taking down their first ever boys basketball state championship. 5A is a little more wide open, a little more up in the air. Who do you like?
Ooh, that's a little tougher
Yeah.
because waiting on those East transfers to come
Yep.
in and see how that plays out. But I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction and stick with Eagle Crest. Kobe Ross, headed to Pepperdine, returning Colorado Player of the Year, thinks he walks off on that big stage.
All right, Thomas, always appreciate the insight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, that's Thomas Trotman. Don't forget you can catch his Ball Fever column on chassanow.com. Always appreciate Thomas coming in. Take another time out. We'll wrap up the program. Stay with us here on the Xfinity Sports Report.